take us deep into the nitty-gritties of scenes as they are unfolding. So tell us a little bit about your writing process. Like, how did you get into boxing, and how do you write action so well?
Okay, so I can't start by saying boxing and I go back a long way, because that will just sound. But what I will say is that I grew up in an armed forces environment that sort of exposes you to a lot of outdoors and adventure sports. And pretty early on, I actually watched a lot of boxing matches, live boxing matches. And I was quite fascinated by the fact the two men were beating the crap out of each other, pardon me. And the spectators were actually quite enjoying when the two men bled. And there was something very interesting in that for me. So when I went to study film, I started following boxing matches in New York. I'd go for all the pro tournaments that were happening. I started going as a fan. And in the book, I have used boxing as a metaphor for hope and resurrection. Really, because it's, for me, life is like a boxing match. So that's Karan's worldview as far as the book is concerned. And I spent a lot of time talking to boxers, watching fights, going to matches. I met coaches, and given my interests in the outdoors and adventures, it only seemed natural that I'd set the story, a resurrection story in the world of boxing. But I don't know what the hullabaloo is all about, because let's face it, the greatest boxing story coming out of India is not a man, it's a woman. It's MC Mary Kom. So it is. So really, there you go.
You touched briefly upon your process of writing as to why you wrote the story, how you imagined the characters. So take us a little bit at that point of inception again, as to how you conceptualized the story, what were the tugs again?
I think the greatest challenge for me was not to create these characters. They were both characters, Karan Pratap Singh and Sonia. I think the greatest challenge for me as a writer was to see what would happen when you threw an alpha male and an alpha female together, and would it work? Could they ever end up together? To me, that was that needed a lot of writes and rewrites. It's very organic in the story, because it's tough for two strong people to find love in one way or another. So for me, I think that was something I really enjoyed, going back and forth. The love story that's there between Karan and Sonia. But I really enjoyed creating both these characters. And I mean, there's something that I said some time back, is that Karan and Sonia are still coursing through my veins, and I need to find a way to let them go a little, and let the book move on to the readers, really.
So you talked about a strong heroine, and clearly, she's a one kick-ass girl in there, right? I mean, she's got the moves. They always say a debut novel reflects something of your life or of people that you know. So where is she coming from?
I think the question is, where are both of them coming from, really? I think it'd be unfair to say that you are not part of what you've created, because I think we're all there is a little bit of us in everything that we create. Having said which, if you're looking for me in Karan or in Sonia, you're going to have to look very, very hard.
Now you're taking it to the next stage. So how do you see different creative processes? Do you switch on different? Just lead us a little bit through the process that you use as you're taking the story from one format to the other format.
I think I'm trained in filmmaking, so I think that's the first thing that that inherently becomes a part of the creative process when I sit down to write a story. So if you find that the story is very visual, it's because I'm trained in the process of writing a story that's visual. Having said which, while screenwriting and filmmaking are what you write for fiction and what you write for screen. Though they're two different mediums, but you're essentially going to be doing 2-3 things right. You're going to write a strong story. You're going to have engaging, interesting characters. You're going to have an engaging plot, and you're going to have a gripping beginning, middle, and a really solid end. Other than that, I think whichever ways, for me, the story is visual because of my training in film. But it's been, but I've also written a lot of fiction before I got into film. So I think you can straddle both mediums. I think that's possible, and I've quite enjoyed it.
Nidhi's not been exactly a prodigy. She's a professional who came and worked with me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. She's worked with you before. You've seen her work, and you've seen you've seen the book. Why do you think it will make a beautiful film?
Well, it's difficult to make a, for me, I'm a failed novelist, I became a filmmaker because I couldn't be a novelist. It's too lonely, So, but it's two different things. And you move from, in one you move from the abstract to the concrete, and the other you move from very concrete. Because you need things to shoot, you need action. So, for this kind of book, because it's action, it's got to do with a sport. It's, the film would deal more with the external, and because you can shoot it very well in terms, and with that you can sort of, in the nature of how you do it and the way you cut it, the way you shoot it, the way the actors perform, you would be able to go into the interior of their mind, whereas in the book, you can do more the head space, it's like, that's why sometimes, sorry, but for example, why is there not such a great sexual novel, very different, because in the sense, when sorry, why is there not such a great sexual film? Because, that's a thing that happens in the heads of the two people, and when it's just merely physical, it's like voyeurism, it's very difficult to avoid that in film. It takes a very great craftsman to be able to move past that. But in this kind of book, it's because it's about sport, I think the transformation can be far easier. And because it's that, and I think it'll make a really good film. But she's got it in her head anyway, that in the sense that intrudes into her writing, that visual sense of description, the way the film moves, the novel moves. I think it's easily transformative. Some books can, some books can't.
So would you make the announcement, formal announcement about the movie?
Well, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the film is being made from Dancing Films. So Nidhi herself will direct. It'll be Mr. Arunodaya Singh in the lead. And I'm very proud because both of them worked with me. In a sense. I don't have Nidhi in my prodigy, but my little boy there is. So that's, it really gives me great pleasure. And I think the producers are here, and now we want to take this forward, but it will, and I'll add my 2 bits whenever she wants.
Alright, and followed by the wonderful announcement, I now invite Nidhi to give Karan Pratap Singh's boxing gloves to Arunodaya. And I think we couldn't have started off on a better note. All the very best to you. Alright, we now throw it open to the audience. If there's questions from the audience, members of the media, the questions, please do address them forward right away. Anybody in the audience with questions?
Oh, yeah. We need to unveil the book.
That's right.
We have photo ops because we're now